Hope you're doing good today. This is gonna be for other adoptees out there specifically. This is a channel for anybody involved with adoption, but my title of the channel is Adoptee Out of the Fog. So I got a comment the other day saying that it literally said don't speak for all adoptees, and I kind of felt bad because I don't ever mean to speak for all adoptees on this channel. I'm just sharing my experience. But then I got to thinking that, her experience was completely different than mine. So I was praying actually on how I could help another adoptee out there. Even if I could just help one, just maybe save one from being like suicidal or something like that, or feeling isolated and rejected, because it's a very isolating experience. I was praying on how I could help just one out there, maybe watching this, coming across my videos, somebody shares it or they're searching, and I got back, there's a book, David Goggins, called Can't Hurt Me. He wrote that, and he has these challenges. So it's not him just like telling you what to do. He has challenges of every chapter, and it's basically something that you can do on your own. So I was praying on it, and I came up with these questions to ask, because a couple years ago I was so deeply lost and depressed, and it was just a dark place. And I had to start my own research, and finally came to my own conclusion from my own research that how I was being gaslit, how I was in the fog, and how to come out of that completely on my own. And these questions are for you guys that have been adopted and maybe don't know what adoption trauma is, if you think it's real, if you think it's not real. So I'm gonna just get into it. This is a challenge for you guys. It's not gonna be me telling you what to do. I'm just gonna ask some questions as an adoptee. 39 years old. I came out of the adoption fog a year ago, and I've been studying adoption basically my entire life. I lived it, but been in the books and researching for about 5 years now. I've read like 10 to 20 books on the subject, some more than twice. And these are the questions that I have for you. If you want to write them down or just meditate on them, think about them. You don't even have to answer them. Just think about them. So I'm going to get right into it. First question. What do I feel like when I try to talk about the subject of my adoption with my adoptive parents? Is it a safe space, or am I met with resistance? Can I ask them about my biological family? Can I talk to them about my race, my medical history, my birth records, and issues or questions that I may have regarding my adoptions without being shamed away in any way? Okay, question number 2. What do I feel about the subject of my birth certificate? Do I know my real name on my original birth certificate from my original birth, obviously my birth? Do I know my birth records and medical history? Do I know the facts about my medical history? Would I be interested in finding out about my medical history? What do I feel about this subject? Question number 3. What do I feel about having 2 sets of parents? One set that gave me life and one set that is raising me. Do I feel like this is normal or abnormal? How do I feel about it? Do I only feel like I have one set of real parents? Next question. How do I feel about my biological parents and my adoptive parents? Do I believe I have I guess it's a typo. What do I feel about them? Next question. Do I know that it is normal and okay to think about and miss my biological family? My origins, my culture. What do I feel about the subject of bringing up my biological parents? Am I angry, sad, numb, hateful, happy? How do I feel about it? Next question. Am I aware of adoption trauma, relinquishment trauma caused from being separated from the mother who carried me for 9 months? Do I believe this is real or not real? How do I feel about the subject of adoption trauma? Why do I feel the way I do? Basically just trying to think about what you feel about the subject and go deeper in it. Next question. How many books have I read and researched on the study of adoption? do I really understand adoption from my own research, or do I understand adoption only from what my parents and friends and professionals have told me about adoption? Next question, do I know my race? Do I know my culture, my heritage? Can I truly say I learned my origins? How do I feel about the subject of my race? I know there's a few overlapping questions, so I apologize. Do I know my full adoption story? Excuse me. Do I know when I was adopted? Do I know when I was fostered? Do I know the real truth? Have I seen the paperwork? How do I feel about this subject? Just thinking about, finding out the facts about that. Next question. What feelings come up when I think about the reunion with my biological family? Have you been reunited? Are you thinking about reunion? Do you not think about it at all? How do you feel about that when that question comes up? Was I able to talk about reuniting with my biological family with my adoptive parents? Or was I told I shouldn't meet them for one reason or another? How do I feel about this subject? Next question. Do I feel like other people understand my adoption story when I try to talk about it with them? Or do I hear, well, you're really lucky, so you don't really need to talk about that, or you're grateful, or something along those lines? All right, next question. How do I feel about my adoption story? Is it all just in the past, something that's just dead and gone, you don't think about it anymore, that you moved on from, or do you feel any type of way about it? It's just something to think about. Next question. Do I have people that make me feel heard, seen, understood surrounding the topic of my adoption? Next question. How is my relationship with my adopted parents? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it okay? Is it okay only if I never bring up the subject of adoption, which is personally my experience? How do I feel about adoption and my adopted parents? Next question. Do I often hear you should be grateful for adoption? You're so lucky. You could have been raised in foster care, or you were given more opportunities than you would have ever had if you weren't adopted. You were given up because your mom loved you and wanted the best life for you, from parents, friends, and professionals. And then you should ask yourself, or not should, you can do whatever you want, but how do you feel about the responses you get when you try to ask yourself and others about your adoption story? What kind of feelings come up? Is it normal to talk about? Is it validated? Is it acknowledged? Or is it just dismissed as you're so lucky? All right, almost done. Second to last question. Do I feel like my feelings are misunderstood or not valid surrounding the topic of adoption? Do I feel like they're not acknowledged or valid? I just said that. Last question. When I hear adoptees talk about adoption trauma, can I relate, or does it trigger anger inside me? How do I feel about it? If it triggers anger, do I know why that anger is there? It's just something for you to think about. These questions are purely to help any other person affected by adoption and what could be going on. I've done a lot of research. I've talked to a lot of other adoptees, and it's something that is very hard to talk about. And that's why in some of my videos, I seem to come across as preachy or angry or very hurt, because I'm very, very affected by my adoption story personally. It was denied, it was unvalidated, and it's really hard for me to talk about. So I really want to help anybody out there who may be stuck in the fog or out of the fog that is looking for answers, and any adopted parents that may have questions about adopting and what could be helpful and what could not be helpful. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this helps one person out there. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.